Hello, this is Julian with Coffee Reviews, and today we'll be reviewing the Rosendo Domingo Wash Processed Guatemala from Calendar Coffee. And there's the bag right there. And before we start, apologies for any sort of construction noise in the background, as we're back to experiencing a heavy bit of construction around these parts. Now, Calendar, based out of Galway, Ireland, they're a coffee roaster that we featured on the channel a couple of times before. Earlier this year, we reviewed a couple of their Ecuadorian coffees, one of which we liked and one of which we were a pretty big fan of. And we've had pretty positive experiences with Calendar as a whole. So seeing a washed Guatemala with some interesting sounding flavor notes definitely sounded like our type of coffee. Something we were interested in, so we picked up this bag. It's also been nice to see Calendar's coffees offered in a couple more places, as since we've really enjoyed their coffees, it's nice to have some options, variety in terms of purchasing their coffee. This right here is day 15 of this coffee. And recipe we had for this coffee specifically, and it's just our standard recipe, 16.67 to 1 water to coffee ratio at 205 degrees Fahrenheit. Brewed through the Chemex, tried it that way the first time, really liked it, so just stuck with it. They're on the lighter side of European coffee, so they're light European for the roast profile. And let's start discussing the coffee itself. Day 7, which was our first impression, and it was a wonderful first impression. It was one of those really, really positive first impressions that we rarely get with almost any coffee. It was just really, really sweet. Just from the start, we experienced a very honey-forward cup of coffee. The most honey-forward cup of coffee we've ever had in our entire lives. That was the first impression. There was a slight bit of a clean strawberry at the start before it cooled off into just this really dominant sweetness. And honestly, that was the only time we were kind of getting a really notable strawberry flavor note from this coffee. So that's worth noting, but it had a very terrific first impression. Day 9 went back, and again, mostly a just really honey-sweet forward cup of coffee. Berries are the secondary flavor, but by quite a distance, and at this time, even just based off of our second impression, would say it was a slightly more tart berry, so something maybe, I think currants are supposed to, in theory, be a little bit more tart, but with more experience with raspberries, would say it's just slightly more raspberry than anything. Day 10, getting an extra hint of floral sweetness at this point, so what was once the secondary flavor being this kind of tart berry, it was a lot more of a floral secondary sweetness to the honey, which was very, very notable. That honey sweetness was experienced most as the coffee had cooled down. Really strong honey forward cup though. Berries were fading, taking even more of a backseat to the other flavors in this cup. Day 11, we could note that there was a lot of consistency in the sense that the really strong honey sweetness was very much dominating the cup, but you were getting some nice bit of extras in this cup as well, as it was a little bit more complex than first experienced. Day 12, we were getting even more, pulling out more things from this cup, something we could probably describe as a vanilla wafer cookie. That was quite strong. The vanilla from this point forward, especially in today, is just getting a little bit more pronounced and notable in this cup. Sweet and pretty honey still dominating the cup, and it was just as strong on this day as it had been on any other previous day. And then day 13 continued to see improvement in this cup of coffee. So honestly, could feel that maybe if we waited even longer to continue drinking this coffee, we might have been able to get even more from this cup, experience even more nice things, as the coffee as a whole was just really improving. Something we could describe as a light floral milk chocolate in this cup as well. Noticeable bit of vanilla sweetness still, and just overall a really pretty cup of coffee. All right, let's go ahead and put up the tasting wheel so you can see what we're getting. And, of course, the things that will jump out the most is we have 3 things at a level 4. The cleanliness, the sweetness, and the florality, and wanted to touch on those all real quick, as this is a really, really clean cup of coffee. Honestly, it's probably on the higher end of the 4.5, but it's really, really hard for us to ever push anything to a level 5 when it comes to cleanliness. But this is really, really close, especially for it kind of being a normal variety coffee. It could actually justify a 5. I would feel comfortable putting it at a 5, just felt a little bit more comfortable putting it at a 4. Sweetness, also a probably 4.5, could push that one to a 5, but we've had some overly ridiculously sweet coffees. And this one could justify a 5 though. Both of those categories could be a 5. Even the florals, it's probably on a higher side of the 4 as well. But we'll leave that one as a 4, as we just feel more comfortable with all 3 of those being at a level 4. Now, the opposite side of that, the berry fruit, we put at a level 3. It's probably a 2.5. It's probably even closer to a 2, as we kind of said that those tart berries had taken a significant back seat to the other flavors in this cup. So 3, but probably closer to a 2. I don't think we mentioned it in the notes, but we did have some notes that there were times we were experiencing a slight bit of citrus, perhaps some lemon. And that's why we have the citrus at level 2. Anything else really worth noting? Obviously the chocolate level 3, and earlier in the life of this coffee, we weren't experiencing much of that chocolate, if any of the chocolate. So by the end, when we pushed all the way to a level 3, this light milk chocolate that was very pretty, very nice in the cup. Other things, finish level 3, yeah, acidity level 2. Honestly, like the way that the rest of this tasting wheel looks. A lot of these were in-betweeners that it's hard for us to push one side or the other. All right, our overall thoughts and impressions of this coffee, really, really positive, hugely positive. This was our favorite calendar coffee that we've ever had by quite a distance. So given that we were a big fan of the Ecuador, this one really, really pushed the Ecuador. As of right now, this coffee could honestly probably finish in our top 10. If things were to end right now, given that this is our favorite Guatemala by far, this would be a top 10 coffee for us this year. As we've mentioned before, we love cleanliness, we love sweetness, and we love, well, the body's at level 3, but 2.5 probably good for the body. But the cleanliness and the sweetness is really what sold us on this cup. Being so uniquely kind of strong flavored for a washed Guatemala was a huge selling point to us on this coffee. So everything about this coffee was really, really enjoyable for us. It kind of reminded us of a maybe lighter version of a Sweet Bloom coffee that was even slightly sweeter. So huge credit to Calendar for how amazing of a job they did with this specific coffee. Makes it a really easy suggestion for people. Anybody that likes their really sweet flavors, their honey and their lighter cups of coffee, as well as something that's super clean. Can't harp on those components enough, as if you like a really, really clean honey, this is probably the cleanest experience of honey that we've ever had from a cup. There are some slight other things as mentioned. It's a complex cup of coffee. The florals are very, very nice. I love the florals in coffee as well, making it just an overall really pretty cup of coffee and a great experience for us. So huge credits to Calendar for this specific coffee. I think this one was a really, really good one. But I think we're going to leave it at that. If you have by chance had an opportunity to try this coffee, would love to know your thoughts and impressions of it as well, especially if you've had anything from Calendar, as so far our experiences just continue to get better and better every time we try their coffee. If you're enjoying the content, give this video a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. But this right here has been a review of the Rosendo Domingo wash processed Guatemala from Calendar Coffee. Thank you for watching.